Hey, it's almost
guys,
10 o'clock.
just...
We gotta start.
Show? What show?
Here pretty soon, or I'm gonna fall asleep.
Listen, it took us over an hour before we finally got other people on here.
I know.
Beforehand, it's just Morton C. Netminer and I sitting around shooting the breeze. Oh, we had better important things to do, like riding our bikes and
whatever it was Joe was doing.
Joe was having sex.
Right. All right, let me mark down times and stuff, and so we can talk about Gattaca
and Joe be quiet.
These are really good. Beaver nuggets.
Beaver nuggets
from Buc-ee's. Do y'all have Buc-ee's close to you guys?
No.
I was kind of disappointed last time I went to Buc-ee's just because of the tacos.
Yeah, I never had the
little
tacos.
tiny tacos, like $6 each. That's a big note
cow.
for me.
That's expensive.
That's insane.
I don't know who has that job to de-nugget a beaver.
Oh no, but they're good. Try 'em. Joe, if you go to Buc-ee's, these are sea salt caramel beaver nuggets. I give it a thumbs up.
I remember seeing them. They were right by the front door there, or right by the registers.
My friend bought them and gave them to me, and I didn't think they'd be that great, but man, they're really good.
Do I want to know what a beaver nugget is? Or am I just going to go with my regular assumption of what a beaver nugget would be?
Do you remember that cereal called Pops? They were like corn pops. That's what they are, but they're like coated with sugar.
And don't they call those like corn nuts or whatever?
They're like hollow.
Or is it different?
Shut the fuck up and start the show.
Then don't show me beaver nuggets. And act like it's a normal thing. I got the little nuggets of beavers. Poor beavers. Welcome to episode 223 of the Linux Lugcast. We are an open podcast /lug that meet at 9 p.m. Eastern every first and third Friday of the month using Mumble. We encourage anyone listening to join us and participate on the podcast. You can check out LinuxLugcast.com for the survey details. If you have any questions, comments, or topics like us to discuss and are unable to join us live during the show, you can send us an email at feedback@linuxlugcast.com. You can check out our subreddit, links in the show notes. We also have... you can join the conversation at the Matrix page, link in the show notes. We also do send this recording up as on YouTube. Danny does a nice video version of it on YouTube and on PeerTube. We've actually kind of recently switched over to, instead of Reddit, over to a Lemmy page. We don't have a link to that at the moment. Actually, you know what? I can maybe put... can I put the Linux.minnix link in the show notes?
Yeah. Did you or can you?
Okay. Yeah, can I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to ask y'all about that. Should we keep posting to Reddit? Because I haven't been doing that. I guess I need. Do I need to? Probably.
I don't know. You've been putting everything over in the Lemmy, so what was it that's going on with Reddit? That they're gonna set up a paywall. Is that what it was?
They're charging for their
paywall
API.
For add-ons.
So, like, if you want to access their data, like via a third-party app, you need to pay for the API. Which they're doing because they don't want to be harvested to train AI, you know. Same with Twitter. So I understand it. A lot of people don't like it, though, because they don't get to use their apps, Reddit apps.
Well, we've been posting most of the things over to Lemmy. I haven't posted too much over there. I think I got like 2.
Have you guys tried out Facebook Threads?
No, but I read it. Like, already got like, what, 10 million users or something?
Like 30 million.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
What is
It's like
Facebook
your
Threads?
Twitter, right?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. I haven't tried it. Jackie says she's tried it, so we can ask her here in a minute.
It's
It
supposed
was
to
a
be
pain to set up, but it's attached to your Instagram, which is a lot of people's problem with it. So if you do set it up and then decide that you don't like it, if you delete your threads, you delete your Instagram.
Oh,
What if you don't have an Instagram?
How are people going
I
to
said, what if you don't
survive?
have an Instagram?
Then you have to set up an Instagram and a threads.
Then you're not
would
cool.
be my guess.
Well, I knew that.
You're not cool if you don't have Instagram.
He's not trying to be cool.
He has never tried to be cool.
He's wearing a Viking shirt. He's not trying to be cool.
All right.
And then Elon is already suing him too, right? I read because he said it's too much like Twitter.
Well, the whole point is that it's supposed to be a Twitter competitor now that Twitter is unstable as hell.
Yeah.
So is it Mastodon's too much like Twitter? As he tried to
No, Mastodon, the issue with Mastodon is really simple. You have to pick a server as opposed to having a centralized server. I understand that's kind of the point of Mastodon, but because you don't have a centralized server, it's difficult to connect to your friends.
Also because
Not really.
nobody uses Mastodon.
Giving people the choice to pick their own server is one choice too far.
But I can still connect to people on other servers because it's federated.
I'm just telling you what the analytics show.
Joe's right. It's for moms, Mastodon is too difficult.
Good.
It's too techy. It's too nerdy.
Okay,
You have
good.
to pick a server.
And the whole
Good.
thing with Mastodon now is that everybody's arguing about Meta and Threads becoming part of the Fediverse, because they said they're gonna enable the ActivityPub protocol pretty soon. So
I have to use the restroom. I'll let Jackie tell you all about Threads.
okay.
Hey,
Hello.
he first told me I was going to talk about my beef with Bucky.
Oh,
Actually-
you have a beef with Bucky's?
It's become too commercial.
It's too mainstream now.
Yeah, it used to be. Okay, so it was definitely. You always pay a little bit more in gas, comparably. But you had decent restrooms and decent prices.
You had a Walmart.
You had a Walmart before it became popular. And now I don't even I get decent restrooms, the gas is way high, and yeah.
What is Bucky's?
It's like if you cross a Walmart with a gas station, it's the huge
And a
gas
Target.
station.
No. A old Walmart, a Target, Super Target, and they had a gas station baby.
And they're giant. And
Oh yeah,
they're-
like
Okay.
7,000 square feet.
Yeah, their claim to fame is their clean restrooms. Now, Jackie,
They are
you say is that still true? They
Yes,
have clean.
the bathrooms.
Okay.
The bathrooms are still very awesome. The price of
Well-
though has gone up.
From my experience, the best bathroom I've ever been in, it was in TF Green. TF Green is an airport in Providence, Rhode Island, and they had like marble floors, and they had on the toilet seats was plastic, and you push a button and it would rotate the plastic around so that you would have a fresh piece of fresh plastic cover over the seat itself when you sat down. And it was just immaculately clean too.
Good
Yeah,
Daddy
but this
Warbucks
is a
over
gas
here.
station, man. We're talking about a gas
Fair
station.
enough. Fair enough.
Daddy
So better
Warbucks
than
can't
a
sit
Love's.
on the same seat as Joe Q Public over here. He's gotta
Hell
have
no, that's
plastic.
nasty. That is. Have you? When's the last time you were in a good like a public restroom? I'm not sitting down. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Bucky's
Have you seen
has
those
clean
seats?
bathrooms though.
Bucky's does have very nicely cleaned, and they clean them every 20 minutes. It's. I have standards, man, because there's a lot of times that we hit, and then you're still having to work your way through the highway restrooms, and you're like, it's Bucky's, man.
I got you. I got you. I understand.
Well, the rest stops are not exactly always the cleanest.
No.
Well, Honky thinks you're supposed to sit down on the toilet seat. He doesn't do it correctly.
You hover over it?
You hover. He's been doing it wrong all these years. So, of course, he thinks it's nasty.
Well,
Your skin is not supposed to touch it.
Actually, you're saying the Turks have it right.
Yeah, the Turks have it right.
Got a hole in the ground?
Chinese.
Community.
Half the time, you guys don't have to do the girl like hover, okay? It's a little bit different, and I have a standard here.
I understand.
If I could smell it 20 feet from the door, we've got issues, and that's how some of the interstate ones are. You're like, oh my god.
Oh
Have
yeah.
you been to a Love's?
Forget the rest. The rest stops are even worse than the gas stations.
Yeah, when it's not a good sign when all you can see is the iron skillet. Okay.
Those places, like anything goes. You never know what you're gonna run into.
I will say though, the visitor center in Mississippi, at the line, Louisiana, and Florida are nice though, and they do provide you breakfast.
Yes,
Breakfast?
Well, they give you like a little muffin, orange juice.
Did you give blood? Is that what it was?
No.
That's about the only time I ever got orange juice in a muffin.
That was at the Florida Welcome Visitor Center, the first rest stop, their first public rest stop on the state line.
You sure you didn't give blood? You didn't wake up and be like, oh, what's going on? And they're handing you a muffin and the orange juice.
It could have happened, but I'm sure it was pretty much monster at that point.
All right.
You woke up in a bathtub full of ice cubes. So what's going on here?
Hey, I'm missing a kidney.
Actually, New Hampshire, it's been a while since I've been up there, but their visitor centers seem to be okay.
I always just remember the New Hampshire liquor store right there at the border.
Well, the New Hampshire liquor stores, because it's a state operation, they actually helped out Massachusetts because
yeah, they fed us alcohol every Sunday. We had to go up to the border just to get booze.
What they helped is the when New Hampshire, being Freedom R Us, had their liquor stores open on Sundays, they helped Massachusetts get rid of the liquor store blue laws.
Took long enough though. You gotta appreciate the fact though that
Massachusetts politicians are definitely the short bus politician.
I'm going to say that all politicians are the short bus politicians. I don't think I've seen one that was ever any good. But I just say it. You got to appreciate the fact that as soon as you cross the line into New Hampshire, that's basically the welcome center is this massive liquor store.
Actually, it's interesting that you don't have to get a welcome to New Hampshire sign. Just the fact that the roads improve as you go to the poorer state of New Hampshire.
Is that because the politicians don't have a salary?
Is that a salary?
New Hampshire? Don't most of the politicians have like a $1 salary or something weird like that?
I don't know, but that'd be fantastic if that's true.
Also, they know how to actually put a road that's designed to survive in New England. I mean, the Germans have their autobahns with a deep foundation. New Hampshire has pretty good, but it's like a constant game around here, especially around the Boston area. They're always repaving stuff because they never put in a decent foundation, so the roads get beat to shit.
Yeah. I'm not sure about how well of a foundation and all that, but yeah, it just seems like every road is basically being worked on at one point or another. They just kind of rotate around which roads they work on. Yeah, and if you want to talk about roads, I'm still going to go back to Dallas being the worst, because all it is highway.
Look, you're not going to get an argument out of me. I mean, the roads
Why?
are garbage. The drivers are insane. The traffic is stupid. Basically, you have to put away your brain before you start driving if you actually want to get anywhere.
Yeah, I basically said a little prayer every time I got in the car.
Look. There's a reason I still drive a 2001 Buick. Part of it is that prices on cars right now suck. The other part of it is everyone that sees that car really believes that I am willing to lose that car. That I do not care if it gets another ding in it.
Can that car get up to enough speed to make it onto most of the roads?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Actually, I can probably, I don't drive, but I can trump you. I just have to say one word: Atlanta.
Never driven there, so I don't know.
Well, my brother's a long-haul trucker, and Atlanta's traffic is so bad that they have a beltway, and they enforce it. Trucks who are not doing deliveries into Atlanta cannot go through the city. That might be something that the people at, in Texas could get behind.
Yeah. Considering the number of semi-rollovers that we had, this last year?
Dallas just needs like back roads, service roads, something besides just highway onto another highway.
Highway and tollway.
To a highway.
No, I remember driving through the southern tip of Chicago, and yeah, that sucked because it was standstill for hours. But it's still better. Well, Jackie says it's better than Atlanta, but I'm going to say it's still better than the stupid pace that they go here in Dallas.
Well,
yeah.
I hate to suggest things, but the one thing that Boston's got are a couple of decent beltways.
Which ones are those?
Well, I mean, 495 way outside of the city, and 128 was a decent beltway when it was put in.
495 was pretty good. 128. I like it the last time I was on 128. But 93 and 95 can get kind of hairy. Especially trying to get on or off in the Boston area.
Well, I remember going to MIT, and somebody was saying about his wife getting their license. People were suggesting that people should start driving a Chrysler product. The M1 Abrams was mentioned.
Oh. See,
Or anything made by Oshkosh.
Anytime I make it into the...
I think a Greyhound would be nice. You know, 6-wheel drive, 37mm cannon, you know, just to help with those traffic jams. Also, armor plate for driving through the hood, you know.
If I go into the Boston area, I usually just wind up going up to Braintree, parking there, and then taking the T in. Just because I don't want to deal with trying to drive through any of it.
Do we even want to talk about Gattaca?
Oh, Gattaca. Well, I should probably introduce people, too. With us tonight is Joe.
I'm here.
And you heard Mrs. Joe earlier. Minnix. Minnix appears to be MIA at the moment. Morton C.
Hello, everyone.
And netminer.
Hello, friends.
In case I didn't mention it, I'm your host, Donkey Magoo. So, last time we watched Gattaca. Granted, that was like 3-4 weeks ago. Quite some time ago. Does anyone want to give the bullet point version of explanation of the movie Gattaca?
I will read it offline if you like.
Do it.
Sure, go for it.
Vincent Freeman, played by Ethan Hawke, has always fantasized about traveling into outer space, but is grounded by his status as the genetically inferior invalid. He decides to fight his fate by purchasing the genes of Jerome Morrow, played by Jude Law, a laboratory-engineered valid. He assumes Jeremy's DNA identity and joins the Gattaca space program, where he falls in love with Irene, played by Uma Thurman. There's an investigation into the death of a Gattaca officer, played by Gore Vidal, and it complicates Vincent's plans.
Okay, so bullet points. It is in the future, and in the future, basically, really everyone is genetically engineered to be perfect, except for the main character.
And they're called valids, and the people that
And
are not
those are called
genetically
valids.
modified are invalids.
People born the old way are invalids. And it's called, when you purchase someone else's genetic structure like that, it's called a broken ladder. And essentially, the guy that was the valid, he broke his back in a swimming accident because he got tired of being so perfect. So he started acting like a jackass.
It was actually an automobile accident.
Was it an automobile accident? I thought it was a swimming accident.
You're talking about Gattaca?
Yeah, rewatching it, that was my memory of watching the movie originally, but rewatching it, that was not. He was an Olympic swimmer and came in silver, not gold. And apparently his injuries were from walking in front of a vehicle trying to kill himself.
Now, you don't have to go over the entire movie. I think that's what people are complaining about. Okay.
We're hitting the highlights of what's important. And so, basically, he uses the guy's urine, he uses the guy's blood, and they use interesting techniques in order to fool the different tests and the blood draws. But there's this one doctor that is conversing with the main character throughout the movie whenever there's a test being done. And like one of his main points is there at the end, Ethan forgot to grab some urine from his buddy and had to pee in a cup one last time and was about to get caught.
Yep.
But didn't get caught because the doctor helped him out and said, "Oh, my nephew is also an invalid, so I understand what you're doing." And it was obvious from the start because you're supposed to be right-handed, but some habits are hard to break, and you were holding your penis with your left hand.
It was the invalids are what they call natural births, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think it'll ever be like that?
It's a distinct possibility. Yeah.
Because isn't like the rise of CRISPR, gene editing?
I don't know.
and
Can you travel without a COVID vaccine?
Yeah, but the whole.
But you're not genetically modified.
Look,
you know?
Yeah, the
Are you
whole
sure?
genetically modified from birth is a
I
whole lot
think I'm
different than
pretty
CRISPR. I mean, CRISPR you can do like after the fact.
Well, that's what that Chinese doctor did. He gene edited those embryos, and before they were born, he
Hasn't
said
that been like 15 years ago?
Yeah, he said the mother had HIV, and he used CRISPR to do something where the babies would not catch HIV or something like that. And then the whole government was denouncing it and saying, no, we don't condone this, but I'm pretty sure they were like sponsoring it, the whole experiment and stuff. You know?
Yeah, and another major plot point that you have to get to is the guy's brother was a valid, and he was the investigator for the
Murder.
death. Yeah, and the whole swimming in the lake thing. But yeah, watch it when you see that part.
I thought the premise of this movie was pretty interesting, especially regarding how society is headed and just an alternate viewpoint of which way it could go and things like that, and not even a planned economy, a planned human race, you know, and
a realistic dystopian future.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that far off, you know.
Then you, sir, have not considered the fact of how many people are just having random sex and children.
Well, no, this movie
these are all
takes
planned.
Into account.
These are all
that,
planned
you know?
births. You have no idea how many unplanned births there
okay,
are out there on a daily basis.
They were doing that whole gene editing thing, but then again, they also were like doing compatibility gene tests in the street at vendors for some reason.
I don't mean the whole human race is going to be planned. I mean they will specifically plan a line of people to do certain jobs or have certain characteristics. Soldiers,
Bill Gates already stated that was a goal of universities and education years ago.
You know, to especially with CRISPR, to more intelligent babies, or even plan what sex you want your baby to be, you know, stuff like that. I could see that being a reality. I'm not saying they're going to plan the human race as a whole. I'm saying there's a certain swath that they want to have certain characteristics, you know. And,
right, the next slave race.
Yeah. What was that movie we watched with Kurt Russell, Soldier?
Yes.
Weren't they like that? They were raised.
The second generation of soldier. Well, the first generation was raised. They were not genetically modified. The second generation was genetically modified to be perfect.
Okay,
soldiers.
That's right. Yeah. And Kurt Russell was helping out that little community on the trash planet against the genetically modified soldiers.
Right.
But yeah, I could definitely see that being a reality, like in the military or. And I don't think the U.S. would be the first country to do so, or like the only country to do that. I can definitely see China or other advanced countries doing that, you know, and not telling anybody about it.
Maybe not China. They have enough of a workforce that it doesn't really, impact them.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But
I mean, competition just to get into a college over there is insane, you know.
Yeah. But here in the U.S., like Honkey's job, they would genetically engineer, something to do that.
Not a human, but just something. You mean
We don't need humans.
You
We need
mean
monkeys.
you mean publishing the Linux Lugcast? That job?
That'll give them more free time to do things like that.
Yeah.
But no,
We-
if we did come up with something like that, they'd either have to off like most of the population or have some kind of universal income. And it's the same thing with the AI stuff that's coming out and the robotic stuff that's coming out. If you're going to take away everybody's jobs, then you need something else.
Yeah, it was pretty extreme. Even the lengths he went to. Which one thing he did that they already do was the leg lengthening thing. I remember that. I guess it's been a while since I've seen this movie, but
he had to be taller in order to pass as the guy that he was, trying to be, his broken ladder. So,
and they do that now.
Yeah, there is actually a process where they will cut your bones and then separate them. Now, I believe, if I remember right, the process they talked about in that movie was adding in coral in order to lengthen the bone. But I think the actual process is just to open up that gap and then let it fill in with bone.
Right, yeah. That's what they do now. Like a millimeter at a time or something. They have to break your legs every time and then let it grow back and break them again and let it grow back. Some people really want to be taller,
Jackie was just telling me about, we know a little kid with TARS, right? It's TARS.
What's TARS?
So, he's missing bones, essentially. So, bones and joints. So, his shoulder goes directly to his hands. Doesn't have shoulders.
Yeah.
He's like a collarbone that goes to his hand. And then his legs, it doesn't have knee joints, or he only has a partial ankle joint. Jackie can probably tell you this better. She has the detail here.
Okay. I'm not getting a headset. This thing is hot. Okay. So the little boy we know, he has TARS, and he turned 5 this year. He has partial, like 3/4 of an ankle on each foot, and he has no knee joints. He has no shoulder blades. His hands are attached to tendons, and they're about mid-rib.
Mid-rib?
Mid-rib. So he can move them and everything, but they're attached by tendons.
Now this is a birth defect, right?
Yes. And he also has the severe side of it, which is severe bleed. So what happens is every summer is he goes and he gets his legs lengthened, and he has 8 sections in each leg, and they do so many centimeters for each one, and then he goes through physical therapy through the rest of the year, and then he goes back the next summer.
Man, that's terrible for a kid to have to go through that.
I'll have to show Joe a picture, but right now, because he popped and they're on springs on the inside, so they're attached inside, the connections are in the inside, but he has springs to help support them on the outside, and he popped one, so they had to do everything early. And this year he's in a removable cast. Yeah, they put him, it's a plaster cast, and he got to do all the colors he wanted, so it looks like a rainbow. It's pretty awesome. But he gets to take that cast off, and he doesn't use his hand. He can use his hands like we do, but he uses his toes. So, like, he uses his speech device with his toes.
Now, see, I think if they could, what do you think, Honky? If they have, like, an idea that the embryo is eventually going to have a deformity of like this, is it ethical to use CRISPR or something like that to edit it?
A lot of the problems you're going to run into that is most of the birth defects like that you're not going to see until 3rd trimester.
Well, I'm just saying if you can take like a DNA analysis of the embryo or something, and
again, a lot of the testing as of right now, you don't know about it until pretty
No,
link search
well, I
right
know
in
now.
there.
We're talking about the future because we're talking about this movie Gattaca that we watched, and in the what in the future they would be able to do, you know. So, Joe, do you think that would be ethical if you could prevent something like this to gene edit a baby or an embryo or something like that before this would happen?
It's a tough call. I mean, genetic mutations is how you evolve. My worry with genetically engineering your entire race is that you become stagnant, no more growth.
But what about to prevent like a horrible deformity or something?
Some mutations don't work out. That's the whole thing. But I can understand. I would prefer something like CRISPR to make the changes so that you could, or advancements in like synthetic limbs, things like that. But
Rather than gene editing the actual embryo before it forms.
I can understand the appeal of that. I mean, if you're going to get rid of all neurodivergency, then I probably would have a problem with that.
Because there's some people that have a deformity or like neurodivergent, and they say they wouldn't want to be any way else. They say this is just what makes them them, and so even though they struggle, they say they wouldn't have it any other way. When I watch like interviews on YouTube with people like that and stuff, they talk about that.
Well,
Right.
here is your local neurodivergent person.
Yeah. Now, what do you think, Netminer?
Asperger's syndrome here, autism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I would be, especially with my background, but alcoholic family. One of the things, if you want to see something amazing, on YouTube, there is a channel which is called Harmless Farmer, I believe is the name of the channel. This is a farmer who has no arms. So his Harmless Farmer is a play on his condition.
Mm-hmm.
But he seems to do okay. I haven't really followed him, but I've seen him a few times. But it's amazing what people can do with minimal, like this young fellow can do things with his feet that you or I might have trouble doing with our hands.
Oh yeah.
Because he focuses on it. Yeah, and he sounds like a tough little guy. Because he's definitely facing challenges that would make a Marine squad blush.
And it forces innovation, at the very least, on his part. And that's part of the whole neurodivergent thing. I mean, even Elon Musk, is neurodivergent, and I don't think he's necessarily the genius that everybody thinks he is, but he has added a lot.
Like in your case, Joe, with your horrible deformity of the beard that you have, if you could have been gene edited before you were born, so this would have never emerged from your mouth bottom.
Look, my beard is glorious.
Would you have wanted that?
You're just upset that the Tom Selleck mustache isn't working for you.
Oh, my mustache has saved my life several times. I'm not upset with it at all.
You just wish you could grow a beard like this.
No, nobody does. An abomination.
Jackie wants to know if your face grows all patchy.
No.
Actually, if Jackie likes it, truck the rest of you.
She doesn't
Yeah,
like it.
the only reason I grew this is because Jackie asked me to. The only reason I keep it is because she asks me to.
Because she doesn't want any other women to be attracted to you.
Oh, chicks dig the beard, bro.
See, this is female repellent, so nobody else gonna steal my Joe.
She says it's softer than my 5 o'clock shadow.
Oh, I'm sure. Mine is terrible.
It's
Mine's
like sandpaper.
Yeah, so is mine. It's like a wire brush. But yeah, I think this movie raises those interesting questions, which is what I like about it. And I like
Despite
the movie.
it being slow as hell.
Yeah, it's slow, but I think it has kind of a philosophical level to it that it raises questions of ethical or ethics and stuff like that. And I think that's the interesting part of this movie to me. That's why I give it a thumbs up.
I thought it was a very interesting storyline, but it was very, very slow. Not much actually happens during the course of the movie. Going on with what you were saying about do I think it's ethical to genetically change, alter children before birth or whatever, so that they would not have some genetic defects? I don't think there's anything ethical or unethical about it. I think it's just if you can spot it beforehand and you can do something about it, then I think that's okay. They do genetic testing a lot of times before birth, and there's some people who I know where people fall, but there's some people who would term if they find some genetic defects. But I mean, if you can somehow change it so they don't have those genetic defects, it's fine. I mean,
well, Joe raises a good point though that sometimes those defects actually drive innovation. As far as the human race goes. Like he was talking about how Elon Musk is.
Who was that? A Brief History of Time.
Stephen Hawking.
I mean,
what he had
Stephen
been the
Hawking
man he was
forced into a position where he had to focus on his mind.
Yeah.
Would he have been as good of a physicist if he didn't have his physical problems?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
Oh, I got something for you. A buddy of mine had a special needs daughter. Actually, a buddy of a friend of mine. And what they found out by giving this young girl tests like saying the alphabet and stuff, memorizing, when she closed her eyes, she did better mentally than she did with her eyes open. So what my buddy and his friend seem to think is that sometimes people who are handicapped, blind, deaf, whatever, all of the processing power doesn't go away. It is just reallocated to the other senses.
There are some neurodivergent people with autism who have essentially have remapped portions of the brain, allow them to do math from the visual cortex, which really speeds up the math process for them, and they can just do incredible math off the top of their head. So yeah.
Now, all kidding aside, netminer, would you have wanted to be a different person than you are now? Or is that even an answerable question,
It's not really an answerable question unless you can side-by-side comparison to both, and you can't.
See, that's what I would think.
I like being me.
That's
I'm
ridiculous.
so pretty it hurts.
Well,
dumbest statement I've ever
I'm
heard.
sort of adapted to who I am, and I'm adapted to especially after recovering from my parents, to my logical and my different focuses. Sometimes I believe I'm too well adapted to my condition, but that happens.
But you have episodes where sometimes you don't eat or drink and you become dehydrated, so you have issues that like we don't usually have stuff like that, right?
But I believe you got to remember, you were talking about body mass index and stuff.
Right.
Leaving high school, I was 137 pounds at 5'8". A lot of those problems with eating and drinking came from a very rough home environment where
Your parents were too drunk to remember to feed you?
no
Oh, that was just me.
meals. You see, meals are great social watering holes, especially for kids. My
It's
mother,
like where you sit around the table and talk with your family and stuff.
no, I'm talking about the watering holes that you see on those Serengeti where the eland have to go to drink, and then there's the alligators waiting to have an eland snack. My mother would sit us in front of food, which we had to finish the plate regardless of whether it was edible or not. And while you were sitting there eating, you could be criticized for anything you'd done wrong in the last 6 months, 6 years, or as long as her memory could conceive. And you couldn't ask to have a quiet meal because that would be talking back. So a lot of my not getting hungry and whatnot was a survival strategy dealing with the emotional climate that I was in, not necessarily a part of my autistic development, or maybe it was my autistic brain being smart enough to jettison hunger and thirst as a survival strategy, but it was not necessarily part of the autistic environment.
Right.
And believe me, after at one time I was 5'8" and 270.
Holy cow.
I've been losing weight. I don't know what my current weight is. Probably 220, 230, somewhere in there. I haven't weighed myself. I don't have a scale. But I've been adapting to a very much cut back diet, and I have been losing weight.
Now, what about projects? Has anybody been doing any projects? Honkey is working on his sleep technique.
Well, as I was talking, you missed our discussion earlier. I've been laying the foundation for having a virtual switch in my computers so that VMs can be on the same network as my physical machines.
And are you doing this?
Isn't that just a switch in your virtual box?
Is that what you're using, VirtualBox?
No, I'm not using box. I'm using network manager text user interface, and the procedure that I'm doing is you go in, you create the bridge, you slave the physical NIC to the bridge, and you remove the initial wired connection and make certain that the bridge has subsumed the physical NIC's MAC address and stuff. So the bridge itself becomes the NIC no longer has an IP address. It no longer has its MAC address because that's cloned over to the bridge. And now when I plug my VMs into the bridge, they go out to my DHCP on my physical router, and they get their addresses.
So there's no more like a VLAN in between, and is that what you mean? Yeah.
The way Virt Manager usually sets things up is that it sets up its own NAT system inside your computer so that the VMs that are created are on a NATed network with their own IP addresses, which is mapped over by an internal router process to your network. But because it's NATed, your host cannot talk to the VMs that it's running, or your physical machines can't talk to those VMs. Now what I've done is basically lay the groundwork where I have a switch in my machine to plug my virtual machines into, just as if they were physical machines, into a physical switch outside of my host.
And what have you been doing with your VMs? What are you using them for?
I haven't gone that far. I'm going to be right now. I'm just working around this characteristic spread, doing the manual setup that I need to do on my VM capable machines. So then I can start creating real VMs and start using some of the tools like Cockpit for virtual machine management as well as physical machine management. But once you have this bridge connection, which is, by the way, how my regular programs are also running through the bridge now, so that this is all foundation stuff, and then I can start working my way to implementing shared folders, implementing VM reserved devices, other stuff. Basically, I'm trying to displace VirtualBox, which has all the, I mean, has a nice interface to all this stuff. Also, this form of bridge networking, as far as I know, and as far as my resource on YouTube knows, only works with hardwired connections. It doesn't seem to want to work with Linux's Wi-Fi stack. I don't know why that is, but that's what I was told by my source. Since I'm purely a hardwired guy, that doesn't bother me. And most of the time I would not run services over or VMs over a Wi-Fi connection anyway, but that's one of the peculiarities of the Linux stack as it exists at the moment.
Speaking of YouTube, what were you using, Joe? New Pipe? Do you still use that?
Yeah, I still use NewPipe to listen to music, but that's it. I mean, other stuff I just deal with ads.
Now with New Pipe, can you set up a like a profile for subscriptions and stuff like that, or?
You can do this like if the person that is making the videos also creates playlists, you can import a playlist and watch that, and then open the playlist and see if it's updated.
Well, I found this app called Clipious on the F-Droid store, and it's an Android app for Invidious for the YouTube front end, of the browser front end, and it works really good, and it handles subscriptions and stuff like that. It's in the show notes, or not in the show notes. It's in the Lemmy. Let me put it in the show notes. But it's still fairly new, so I had some issues with it. But I jumped in their matrix room, and he helped me out. The developer's real friendly. So if you get a chance, try out Clipious and see what you think. I think it's only for Android, so if you have an Apple phone, you're kind of out of luck. But
yeah, I bet I'm doing YouTube Premium to get rid of ads. Since it's about my only regularly used streaming service, it's not too bad.
well, I have a Invidious instance at yt.minnix.dev, and anybody is welcome to use that to create an account. It's open, and you connect. You can watch it in the browser, or you can use Clipious, the Android app, to connect to Invidious, and you can make, do subscriptions or just like you would with a YouTube app, subscription management and stuff like that, and it blocks ads, and you can create playlists, and But I just found that recently, and it works pretty good. Like I said, it's still fairly new, and but he's been working on it pretty regularly and pushing forth updates. Something to try, especially if you use like NewPipe, or if you alternative front ends for clients for YouTube. There's something else going on with YouTube too, isn't there? Some news. Was it if you use an ad blocker, they're gonna block you or something?
Maybe, I don't know.
You guys hear about that?
No, I hadn't heard about that.
News.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I
YouTube.
suspect.
Here, I'll post a link in the show notes. YouTube tests disabling videos for people using ad blockers. It says YouTube is suddenly taking a harder stance against ad blockers, and it'll cut viewers off after 3 videos if they're unwilling to turn them off. Put that in the show notes.
Well, I run ad blockers, but then again, since I'm running a premium account that already blocks ads, or I mean, the premium feature is no ads, that shouldn't affect me.
Shouldn't.
It says the statement comes after some people began noticing a new prompt warning that video playback could be cut off if YouTube detects repeated use of ad blocking tools. And it prevents you from watching more than 3 videos when an ad blocker is detected.
That would suck.
It says YouTube has increasingly tested the patience of its users by experimenting with heavier ad load in recent years. Last September, the company served up to 10 unskippable clips within a single ad break in another of its experiments. And in May, YouTube announced that 30-second ads were coming to TV platforms. YouTube Premium removes ads from the service for the price of $11.99 a month or $119.99 annually. I have it as a leftover from Google Play Music. And they threw in, like, at the time it was called YouTube Red. Do you remember that? And then it changed to something else. Now it's YouTube Premium. And so I'm still paying for that, but it's only $7.99 a month because I kept that grandfathered price or whatever. But I rarely watch YouTube without Invidious now, so like I could do without it. And they came after the developers of Invidious recently too. And Invidious was like, look, we're not even accessing your API. That's what they came after him for. They said you're using our API to create a tool that blocks ads, but they're not using the YouTube API.
Well, considering that YouTube is my TV subscription, $12 a month or whatever it is
reasonable.
Pretty decent.
Yeah.
I have no Netflix, I have no Hulu, I have no whatever. And the only And eventually I'm going to take advantage of my EBT and cut my prime costs substantially.
Now, Honkey, do you use Jellyfin, right?
Yeah.
Did you see this article about jellyseer?
No. Did you put it in the? Let me.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the show notes right now.
Did we ever finish up everything with telling what the next movie is and all that stuff? Or
Oh no.
did we score Gattaca at all? I know we went like what? We did like 2.
I gave it a thumbs up. 1,
I
2.
give it a half a thumb.
Half a
It's a
thumb.
fine
Okay.
movie, but it's just kind of slow.
2, 3. So there's 3.5 thumbs up. 3.5 stars.
I like that.
I'll write that down.
Jellyseer.
I just put it in the show notes too. I don't really, I don't use jellyseer, so I don't really understand what this tool does. If you want to look at that real quick.
Jellyseer is a free and open source software application for managing requests for your media library. It is a fork of Overseer built to bring support for Jellyfin and Emby.
You know what
Current
Overseer
features?
is?
No idea. It's got to be something that's built into Jellyfin that I'm not, specifically using. Let's see. Current features: full Jellyfin/MB/Plex integration. Authenticate and manage user access with Jelly/MB/Plex. Supports movies, shows, mixed libraries. Ability to change email addresses for SMTP purposes. Ability to import all Jellyfin/MB users. So it sounds like a something to manage users more than anything else.
So it also supports sonar and radar integration with existing services. Now those are torrenting, right?
Yeah.
Those are scheduling.
Scheduling.
So yeah. So like
Do they
sonar,
read RSS feeds or something?
maybe. So sonar specifically, you go in and say you search for a show like Jeopardy, and then you say I want episodes from starting from here onward, and grab them in this quality and stuff. And then in another place you have clients, and I think inside sonar there's 2 choices. There's a news group indexers that you use, and then torrent sites that you can add, torrent accounts.
Okay. And it searches for those search terms.
So it gets so you have a whole list of things that you want to get, and like you list all your TV shows. It's kind of like a web-based DVR, and then it uses the TV database to keep up to date with when episodes are coming out, what the titles are, things like that, and then it scans at whatever interval you have set up for new episodes.
It says you can approve requests. Customizable request system allows users to request individual seasons or movies in a friendly, easy-to-use interface. Mobile-friendly.
What's that?
So I guess if you have multiple users of your Plex or whatever, this is an interface where they can request seasons or movies.
Is that Ombi or Overseer?
It's jellyseer, which is
Jellyseer. It's probably a clone of Overseer.
Yeah, well, that's what it said. It's a fork of Overseer.
Okay, yeah. So Overseer, you can configure it so it uses your Plex account, and then whoever is in you've granted access to your Plex libraries, you can grant them access, and so then they can go and they can search for like Spider-Man and request it, and then it either queues up or you can auto approve.
Okay.
You can request TV shows. You can even go to the depth of requesting multiple seasons or just single episodes of TV shows.
All right. This says the original Overseer team have been busy, and Jellyfin MB support aren't on the roadmap. So we started this fork as we wanted to bring the Overseer experience to Jellyfin and MB as well. So I guess whatever Overseer does, this is supposed to do as well, but for Jellyfin and MB.
That makes sense.
It says it's an integration with Plex as well.
Yeah. You can use Docker to run jellyseer, or you can build it with Yarn. Uses Node.js.
I wonder if you have to remove Overseer before you put in jellyseer.
Probably not, as long as it runs on a different port. Or you reverse proxy it to a different port.
Now, do you use Overseer at Mortency?
No, but I know somebody that does. I can sign into an Overseer account on somebody else's Plex library, connected to somebody's Plex library.
And you can make requests and stuff like that?
Yes. Actually, I might not be able to. He disabled mine for a while.
Why? Were you watching? Were you abusing your privilege?
Every time I was stressed at work, I'd go in, and after work, I would just sit and request a bunch of stuff for his Plex. When I couldn't share my Plex out. Yeah, but he has everything downloaded at like 4 and 8K. So he has like 1,000 movies and 100 TV shows, and he's at like 80 terabytes.
So you were using up his storage space.
Well, I wasn't the only one requesting stuff, but yeah, he limited me. So he shut me off, and then he let me request 1 season a week and 1 TV show a week, or 1 movie a week.
You've been
and I think everybody else limited. Well, he also approves everything, and he takes his time at going through the approval list. So he hadn't looked at it for like 2 months, and I was requesting 10 seasons and 10 movies per week. So there were thousands queued up from me. But they were all things that people wanted to watch out of the group of like 20 people that have access to his Plex library.
Right. So that's jellyseer. Now you've got Overseer for your Jellyfin and MB accounts. I was going to bring this up. I wish Lovecraft was here, because we had talked about on the last official show our experience with getting into computing and early BBS experiences and stuff. And on archive.org they have this full documentary from 2005, I believe. It's just called BBS, the documentary. And I put that in the Let me put it in the show notes. I'm going to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but it looks interesting. It said, long before the internet escaped from the lab, connected the planet, and redefined what it meant to use a computer, there was a brave and pioneering band of computer users who spent their time, money, and sanity setting up their home computers and phone lines to welcome anyone who called. By using a modem, anyone else who knew the phone number of these computers could connect to them, leave messages, send and receive files, and millions did. They call these places bulletin board systems, or BBSs, and their collections of messages, rants, thoughts, and dreams became the way that an entire generation learned about being online. When the internet grew in popularity in the early 1990s, the world of the BBS faded, changed, and became a part of the present networked world, but it wasn't the same. And it's got a lot of good reviews. But since I really wasn't involved in the whole BBS thing, like a lot of you guys, I'm going to watch this thing. Maybe if I can gain some knowledge. It's got 4 episodes. And it's free on archive.org.
It seems interesting. Seems like something I might check out.
Me too, because I like computer history like that, especially early internet history.
8 episodes. That's actually pretty long.
Mm-hmm.
The first couple are 40 minutes long, and then they go into the last couple episodes are about 20 minutes long.
Now Hopper contributed a couple of links to the Lemmy. The suicide attempt by Red Hat. Oh, we haven't talked about the whole Red Hat debacle yet, have we?
I kind of touched on it.
Everybody's talked about it, though. It's kind of old news at this point. I mean, yeah, they essentially said, we're no longer free and open source.
Yeah, they put their source behind a subscription now, right? You have to have a subscription to access the source code. Is that the whole deal?
Something like that. Something like that. I couldn't even say the details on it, but if you wanted to look it up.
Okay, here's a quick recap of the events that led to this. Number 1, Red Hat has an excellent Linux distribution called Red Hat Enterprise Linux with a support cycle of 10 years. Number 2, like any other Linux distribution, the source code used to be used to build RHEL, or a clone of RHEL, was available publicly. CentOS came into existence by taking the aforementioned source, removing trademarks, and creating an almost one-to-one copy of RHEL. I say almost because RHEL trademarks need to be removed. The enthusiast community that did not bother paying fees just to try out RHEL for the first time can now use CentOS to see if they like it. 5. A subset of people from that group then inform their higher management about RHEL and how good it is based on their initial experience with CentOS, and most likely switch to cater to either supporting their products on RHEL or using RHEL for their deployments. 6. The enthusiast community grows because CentOS is free. People like Jeff Geerling use CentOS to teach up-and-coming enthusiasts interested in cosplaying as a sysadmin about awesome stuff like Ansible with its open-source repositories. Number 7, CentOS binaries were released a few weeks after RHEL's update, so Red Hat acquired CentOS to ensure that CentOS didn't lag behind RHEL's updates. 8, a few years later, the CentOS stream fiasco happened, killing CentOS. Number 9, Rocky Linux and Alma Linux come up to fill the void left by CentOS. They use the RHEL source, which is publicly available. And number 10, Red Hat starts restricting the source code to its customers and anyone else with a free developer subscription. It says Red Hat, you offer a product to the community for free, CentOS, then you switch the support window of that free product mid-cycle and use its alternative, CentOS Stream, as a testing ground for your shiny enterprise product, RHEL. The leeches then take the source code of your shiny product and create a successor to CentOS, Rocky Linux and Alma Linux. You don't like that, so you soft paywall them. Now, while you are well within your rights to do so, I'll explain why this is a bad move for yourself. Why is RHEL so popular in enterprise environments? Answer, CentOS. Question, what did online tutorials use to teach about RHEL? RHEL. Answer, CentOS. Question, what do the followers of said online tutorials use to learn about RHEL? Answer, CentOS. And it goes down the line like that. If Red Hat continues to cause trouble for RHEL clones, here's what you can expect. Many customers and professionals helping with enterprise deployments will consider abandoning RHEL and not supporting it. New users will start considering Ubuntu, Debian, OpenSUSE, or something else which is there to stay. Universities' IT courses will also switch to replacements like Ubuntu or OpenSUSE instead of dabbling between RHEL clones. So this guy is making the case that in the long run, this is going to hurt Red Hat because people aren't going to be using it, the source, which was the free distro CentOS, as a testing ground to learn about RHEL.
I agree.
And to me, that makes sense because people that are young now that aren't in the business world, that were previously using CentOS to learn about RHEL to become a sysadmin later or whatever, are now going to switch to something else.
And DevOps web guys are all Debian and Ubuntu.
Yeah, and then when they get hired at their new companies, they're going to tell them, hey, you should really be using this other distribution since this is what I learned to use. And I'm most familiar with it instead of using RHEL. And this could really cost RHEL in the long run. I don't understand why they did this. How this even makes sense. Is it just a money grab thing? IBM investors not thinking about long term?
I don't know, but the consecutive steps and that being on the 2-year anniversary of the CentOS stream announcement.
Has it been 2 years already?
Wow. Yeah. I think that the whole flow looks planned, and I bet there's a couple more big bombshells to drop over the next couple years.
Wonder what else is. That was a big cert to get too. A big certification to get was the RHEL cert.
Yeah, I've been looking at RHEL cert information lately.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's gonna make me not want to continue.
Well, I'm sure interest is going to decline.
Yeah, I just got rid of Proxmox and put Rocky Linux on both of my cloud instances, and was thinking about installing it on that Xeon, that Ansel that I have.
Yeah.
Because I'm done with their OS.
Yeah, it seems like something I would just avoid altogether.
Now, Rocky Linux was in the news too, and they've talked about how they're going to use loopholes to get around this, but I don't know how long they can keep doing that. It says Rocky.
Well, if updates are going to be able to be available to developer accounts, then they would just need a developer account and pull it down somewhere.
Well, yeah, that's true. It says the Rocky Linux project that it has two options for obtaining RHEL source code: through UBI container images and through pay-per-use public cloud instances. This is coming from Gregory Kurtzer, who is the founder of CentOS. It said Red Hat said it would make source code only available to those who are customers of the company. It said the CentOS stream, which is upstream to RHEL, would be the only way to obtain source code. This source would, however, always predate the RHEL source and this be out of date. But then Rocky Linux said it had been obtaining the RHEL source code from the CentOS Git repository. However, this repository no longer hosts all the versions corresponding to RHEL. We now have to gather the source code from multiple sources, including CentOS Stream, pristine upstream packages, and RHEL SRPMs. It says you can get UBI container images from Docker Hub, which contains the Red Hat source. And also pay-per-use public cloud instances where anybody can spin up a RHEL image in the cloud and thus obtain the source code for all packages. Well, that's an overview of the whole RHEL debacle. I found this new terminal called Tabby, formerly Terminus. Did any of you guys ever use Terminus?
Nope.
I've heard of it, never tried it.
It looks cool. It's called Tabby, a terminal for a more modern age. It also includes a web interface called Tabby Web. What's that? What's that?
I'm using Terminus on my Android phones right now.
Are you really?
Are you really? I think on my Chromebook also.
Do you like it?
I think I'm using Termux and Juice.
Termius or Terminus?
Terminus is what Tabby used to be.
Okay, this is TERMIUS.
Oh,
and I do like it.
Oh, okay. So some of the features here. Let me put this in the show notes. It says integrated SSH and Telnet client and connection manager, integrated serial terminal, theming and color schemes, fully configurable shortcuts and multi-chord shortcuts, split panes, remembers your tabs. Oh, it's for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So you could use this in place of PuTTY, I guess. Comes with PowerShell support, direct file transfer from to SSH sessions via Z modem, full Unicode support, doesn't choke on fast flowing outputs, proper shell experience on Windows including tab completion, integrated encrypted container for SSH secrets and configuration, SSH, SFTP, and Telnet. So nothing new, really. It seems like it's more for the Windows crowd who want a decent terminal. Because there's nothing new here that you can't get on like any other decent terminal for Linux. But so I guess it's mainly for Windows users that don't want to use PuTTY.
No one should want to use putty. Putty sucks.
It does suck.
Yep.
Anybody looking for a new phone?
Always.
What about the new Purism?
What is it, $3,000?
No, it says Purism found a way to make its Linux phone even more expensive. Meet the $2,199 Liberty phone.
Oh.
That in the show notes.
Guess what I'm not getting?
Now let me read you the specs, and you might reconsider.
Doubt
I
it.
won't.
It says an entry-level Librem 5 sells for $1,300, and customers who want a made-in-the-USA model can pay $2,000 for a phone that's basically the same, but it promises a secure supply chain for folks worried about buying phones made in China. And now there's an even more expensive model called the Liberty phone. It has a little more memory and storage and a $2,200 price tag. It comes with 4 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, instead of 3 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of storage.
You're not exciting me with these stats.
But listen to this. It has an NXP i.MX8M processor, which was released in 2017, and features 4 ARM Cortex A53 CPU cores at 1.5 gigahertz, and it has a 720p display. Now, what do you think about that?
I think I'm going to keep my $2,000.
And includes for support for Wi-Fi 4 and Bluetooth 4. Which I'm connected to Wi-Fi 6 currently.
Yeah. If I'm going to spend $2,000 on a phone, it's probably going to be from Samsung.
Hey, but Joe, it has an audio jack. How about that?
I use Bluetooth.
And it's also designed to run mobile Linux distributions.
That is nice.
And the phone
if
ships
we could
with
get, a version of Linux on a phone that actually does well.
It ships with Purism's own Pure OS software, but you should also be able to load other operating systems on the phone. Or you could buy a Pine phone for $399 and get a faster processor and similar features, including the 720p display, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and 128 gigabytes of storage.
I haven't pulled mine out in a while. I have to see if there's any updates.
So PinePhone Pro, which they're calling the PinePhone 4 for some reason, weird, which has the same specs with a faster processor for $400 versus $2,200 for the Liberty phone. How about that?
Very exciting.
Joe.
I'm all tingle.
What are we up to now on the Samsung's 23 Ultra?
Yeah, I have just the regular S23 and I really like it.
Now, the foldable phones are getting better, but I mean, you're still paying like flagship prices for a non-flagship phone. So,
now, would you consider a foldable phone as your next phone?
well, I am considering it, kind of. I know Jackie wants one because she wants a larger screen because that's basically how she, absorbs all of her media. So she wants one. I wouldn't mind one of the Z flips just because it's smaller.
See, that's what I would get if I got the foldable phone. That would be that kind. I like how compact they are when you fold them up.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of what I would want is probably the smaller size, just because most of the stuff I do you it's connected to my server. As long as it's got 5G and Wi-Fi 6, then I should be able to do everything from it that I want to do. But the other, except for one thing, the folds are all bricked when it comes to USB-C HDMI. They don't output over USB-C. So
There's no video through HDMI through USB-C. Is that what you're saying?
that's my understanding.
But then again, if you're using a fold, then you probably wouldn't. People using a fold aren't going to be thinking about outputting to USB-C
I
to
would.
HDMI anyways.
I would.
Because they should be able to just open the thing up and look at it that
Well,
way.
not the Z Flip.
Do you do any USB-C to HDMI right now?
Yes.
Through like one of your phones?
Yes. My Note 10 Plus at work all the time.
The only reason I would do that is if I had Linux running on the phone. Other than that, I wouldn't.
Well, the thing is, with like I think I was talking about it last time on this show. Chrome Remote Desktop allows me to spin off another desktop of my home computer, which is Linux. So essentially, running the Samsung DeX and Chrome Remote Desktop, I am running my Linux Mint machine.
Oh, Honkey, what was that? Did you post it? We talked about something related to DeX. What was it?
Oh yeah,
was
we
that
kind
in
of talked about
Matrix?
it last time too. It was just that who is it?
You said Joe would be excited about this.
Yeah, where did I put it? Here. Somebody was doing Dex now. I actually put it in Reddit. I thought I put it in Lugcast. And let me.
Or something DeX-like.
Yeah. Actually, I think Google, the new Pixel, is going to come out with something that's very Dex-like soon.
But is it going to be like Linux on DeX, or is it just going to be a desktop version of Android?
I believe it's just going to be a desktop version of Android.
And you know, the Samsung DeX is doing it really well now. It looks good. I guess it's what, like a Chromebook? I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I
it
haven't
looks
seen
good.
it.
Not all the apps will work on it because they say that some apps are specifically designed for a touchscreen, like RVNC, Real VNC, won't work on DeX.
Where did you put that at? Or maybe you just put it in Matrix.
I thought I put it in Lemmy or Reddit. I wonder if it's in Reddit.
I don't see it in Reddit.
Oh no. Did you do something to Lemmy and the wiped half of the things out?
Oh,
Y'all are going to have to give me a link to the Lemmy.
It's in the show notes now.
I didn't do anything to it. The first post was 11 days ago, which is when I got it up and running.
Right. But I thought you've put more posts into the Lugcast group on Lemmy.
That's where I'm looking now.
I know.
Or did you just put it in Matrix?
Yeah, pretty sure. I think Lemmy kicked it out.
No. Yes. Where was it on Lemmy? It just disappeared? Oh, hang on. Okay, I
No,
didn't
it's
hit,
in it's in
there is,
Reddit.
I forgot to hit the next button at the bottom.
Next doc XL 15.6. Nope, that's not right. Where is it?
Here it is. Just hit the next button on the bottom of Lemmy, and you'll go to the next page. There's where all the other posts are. Remember, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here I forgot about.
Right, I thought we had a lot of posts.
The muon by yeah, so my first page post was actually 15 days ago. We didn't talk about muon, which netminer brought up, which was called something else before it changed its name to muon, snowflake or something.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. Isn't that the I think we were talking about that earlier.
Did we talk about it in the Blue Moon show?
I don't know. Earlier, he wanted to download. Netminer wanted to download the wiki for Snowflake, I believe.
Yeah, it says the project is being renamed as previous name Snowflake is confusing since there's already a popular product with the same name. Muon is a graphical SSH client. It has an enhanced SFTP file browser, SSH terminal emulator, remote resource process manager. It has a lot of cool stuff. It looks cool. So the application is targeted mainly towards web backend developers who often debug their code on remote servers and not overly fond of complex terminal-based commands. It can also be used by sysadmins as well as people who manage a lot of remote servers. Netminer, are you there?
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, you're the one that brought it up in the email. Snowflake? It's been renamed to Muon. I put it in the show notes. But it looks really interesting.
I had heard about the rename. It sounds like the rename is more official than functional.
It said there was already a service called Snowflake that they were getting confused with this Snowflake. And then the one I was talking about, I put that in the show notes. Have you tried Snowflake or Muon yet, Netminer? Did you install it?
I've installed it a couple of places. I haven't used it really. Haven't gotten down to that level of stuff just yet.
And then here's the one real quick about the Google Pixel 8 could bring a healthy rivalry to Samsung DeX.
Yep.
Put that in the show notes.
Competition's always good.
What does it say? Samsung's mobile desktop platform DeX might finally get a serious competitor with Google working on its own DeX-like feature. The Google Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro may be paying homage to One UI and Samsung's flagship phones in at least one big way. They may offer a DeX-like desktop environment for productivity. It said they both support USB DisplayPort alternate mode. Specific to USB-C, allows the standard to be used for other things such as charging or transmitting video data. And see, in the Pixel phones, you can use that. They have their own, what do you call, like a VM? What did I write? Nestbox. You can use Nestbox with the Pixel VM, with the Pixel phones, which uses actual VMs instead of just chroot environments. So you could have Linux on the Pixel phone and then output through the display port. There's a lot of links over here I forgot about. Honkey's falling asleep. Y'all want to? Is there anything y'all want to talk about before we sign off?
I think the last thing is I think you should talk about searxng before we go.
Oh yeah, I wrote that in the show notes. I wanted to mention that real quick. If you haven't tried it, check out searxng. It's a search engine it's a meta search engine. So and on the back end, you can choose which other search engines you wanted to use. Like and also it's self-hostable. And so I set up an instance for on Proxmox. If you go to searxng.minnix.dev, you can try it out. And I finally got the proxy correctly where you can save your preferences and stuff. But it's cool because I've been using it as my main search engine now. And for a self-hostable search engine, the last one I tried was Jellyseer, which was a peer-to-peer search engine, and it was pretty dog shit. But this one is leveraging other, like you can use your if you in the preferences you can go to engines and you can use Bing, Brave, DuckDuckGo, Google, Moji, Quant, Startpage, Wilby, Yahoo. You can select all the search engines you want to use. As well as Wikipedia and archive.is and all these other search engines. You can use them all at the same time for your search, which is cool. It has same thing for images. You can use like DeviantArt and Flickr as the back end, as well as Google Images. Videos, you can use YouTube, Dailymotion, PeerTube, but it has a section for search engines for files as well. And like if you're searching for torrents or whatever, it has in the back end of the engine profiles, you can use APK Mirror, F-Droid, Google Play apps, as well as like RareBG, Kick-Ass Torrents, Library Genesis, if you're looking for books, and
what's this one called?
It's called searxng, SEARXNG, and you can use either their public instance or you can use my self-hosted instance, which is at searxng.minnix.dev, and I put that in the show notes. And you can turn safe search off and on, and but it's really cool. You can do a social media search.
Now, DeviantArt, I think you have to have an account on DeviantArt. I'm not sure.
Oh, do you? Man, I haven't thought of that site since probably 2008, to be honest.
Okay, safe search is automatically off on yours.
Okay. And if you can go to your preferences, and before it wouldn't save them. I had it proxied wrong, but you should be able to save your preferences to your local cookies now. It was like proxying back to local or to local host for some reason, but I got it fixed. And it's just a Docker image. And you can proxy your searches so that they're private.
I'm checking here. I'm not seeing any of the like torrent sites.
Go to engines and preferences,
Yeah.
and then go to files.
Hold on. Engines, general, images, videos, news, map, music, IT science files. Here we go.
Pirate Bay, solid torrents, Tokyo to Shokan.
I previously had issues with my audiobook shelf.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I couldn't get it to connect to the files to the library.
Mm-hmm.
I uninstalled it and reinstalled it in YUnohost, and it looks like it's working. It's scanning the libraries, the directory with all
Oh,
my
nice.
audiobooks.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So is your books on like an SMB share, or how is it accessed?
How is
Or
it
what is it
accessed? Or
accessing?
what is it accessing?
It's accessing my NAS share.
Oh, your
The
NAS
same
share.
Oh,
thing
your
that
NAS share.
the same thing that Nicotine Plus.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can get audiobook shelf working, then I have a phone app and web browser I can use to access them, and I can create a podcast folder and subscribe from wherever, and I'll have a new podcast workflow, and I can start listening to podcasts again.
I didn't even consider using it for podcasts. I
What,
guess.
audiobook shelf?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, mine's set up for podcasts. So if you go
Really?
into mine and click in the top, I think it's the top left, and switch from books to podcast, you can see my podcast list.
Nice.
Joe is why I installed it, because we talked about this when I said I don't have a podcast workflow and can't listen to podcasts anymore.
It's not the best for like, just listening to them in the order that it came out, unless you want to do it one podcast at a time.
I don't understand.
Okay, so like Jupiter Broadcasting has a whole bunch of shows that come out, right?
No idea.
In audio bookshelf. Okay, so let's say you're listening to Linux in the Ham Shack and Sunday Morning Linux Review. You can listen to all of Sunday Morning Linux Review in order, from the most recent to the oldest, but you cannot listen to the two of them in the order that they came out, and the way you could with a podcatcher on like Android, like Podkicker, which just puts them all in a line as it downloads.
Oh, so
I
they
am
come
okay with that.
in on the same feed.
With the audio bookshelf, I could make a playlist, right?
Yeah, I haven't gotten the playlist to work correctly. I'm gonna have to talk to the developer again, because it's definitely something that I would like to put an entire book series into a row and then not have to go back in and start the next one, and start the next one, and start the next one. But I can't do that. It doesn't work like that.
Now, the only thing I noticed with searxng is when I use it to search for news, it finds news stories, but it won't always put them in the order of most recent to earliest, So I want to find the most recent news article about something. It may pop in one about from 2022 ahead of 2023 or something. Not sure why. May have to post an issue on GitHub or something. Now that's on my instance. Maybe on the public instance it does it. Something I haven't configured yet. But it's cool to have your own search engine that's actually decent and not a piece of shit and doesn't track you, you know. Doesn't put you in a search bubble. Anyway, anything else you guys want to talk about before Honky just falls over?
Yeah, it's getting late. Oh. Does anybody have any? Well, so we're going to watch, whether we actually get to watch it together or what, we are going to watch Laser Blast as the next movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll need to set up a time or something. I don't know what works for you guys.
One, she doesn't like it.
You don't want to watch it together?
I do. I just
No,
we
more
need to
than-
set
I'll
up a
watch
time.
it again.
What's that?
He said he'll watch it again. I've already seen it too, but I'll watch it again if we watch it together.
I think it's definitely a movie that'd be worth watching together.
Yeah, it's
We're going
great.
to do next Friday evening?
I'll have to get back to you. I don't know what's going on next Friday.
I don't either.
It's
I was
the
just picking a
14th.
date.
I don't think I got anything going on.
Well, maybe. Time 5 to 8. Oh, maybe. All right. So we're gonna close this up so I can go to bed. Next recording date will be July 21st, 2023. Our music is Downright, provided by Klaatu and Broam. I'd like to thank Delwin for the use of his mumble server. Finally, we'd like to give a special thanks to Father Finch, Phoebe, Dave Morris, and Tony Beanis for all their help and support over the years. I've been your host this evening, Honky Magoo. With us tonight has been Joe.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Morton C.
Good night.
And netminer.
Good night, friends.
All right. Good night, everybody.